What's up, guys? It's me, 70. First thing you guys might be wondering is, where am I right now? Why isn't this the normal podcast format? I'm actually on spring break right now, and all I have with me is my phone, so I'm recording on my phone, and I'm going to upload this video from there. I don't get back for another week or so, and by then the season will have started, and everything I want to say will become irrelevant. And that means, unlucky for you guys, you have to watch my ugly face for this video, so sorry. Anyway, back to the video. So I've done quite a few MLB The Show videos recently, and they just haven't been getting the results I've been hoping for. My channel hasn't grown at all. But when you look at these MLB videos, they're actually getting a few likes, and 2 of them have over 100 views, so it's pretty obvious that that's what you guys want to see from me. So I'm going to sort of switch focus and start putting out more of those. I'm still going to do occasional MLB The Show videos, and I'll try to make them more interesting, but you can expect the majority of the content from me to be talk videos for the foreseeable future. I'll try to put one up every Sunday. Maybe it's more realistic to expect only every other week, I don't know, but I feel like I have a lot of things I want to say, and it's clear that you guys enjoy watching that. So, on to the video. Well, Cubs spring training is about over, and I'm feeling pretty confident about this season. At the end of last year, Theo Epstein said he wasn't going to make any huge moves, but he said that the current players need a sense of urgency to improve their own personal games, and from what I've seen, they've all done that. The starting rotation is exactly as we expected: Lester, Hamels, Darvish, Quintana, and Hendricks, with Montgomery and Chatwood in the pen. The only question mark here is Darvish, who had looked promising at the start of the spring, but now has a blister. Those can either heal really well or ruin a guy's year. It's extremely important not to rush the process with Darvish, and if that means him starting the year on the injured list, that's fine. If we're going to win the division this year, Darvish needs to be healthy, and spending 10 days on the IL is better than missing 4 months. However, I think it's more likely that Darvish will be able to make the OD squad without having to spend time on the IL. A depth option that I think is not being talked about is Kendall Graveman. He's had a pretty average career, but he's a righty who would offset our lefty-heavy rotation. The problem is he's injured for the foreseeable future, and he's on the 60-day DL right now. He was one of the many under-the-radar pickups this offseason for the Cubs, and he could possibly fill in later in the year if someone gets injured. I think Montgomery and Chatwood overall are suited better for the bullpen than their rotation, and if there's a choice between them and Graveman, I would choose Graveman. Oh man, the bullpen. This year is going to be a lot of trial and error for Maddon regarding who will perform well in the bullpen and who won't. I'm going to go player by player here because I honestly don't know how the bullpen will be structured, and I think everyone is going to have to be utilized a little differently. We can pretty much count on Pedro Strop in the late inning role. I'm pretty sure he'll be ready for opening today, and Brandon Morrow is reliable, but he most likely won't pitch until May. And I'm not sure we can count on him to be healthy even after that. Other than those 2, I don't think Maddon can go into the year fully trusting anyone. Luckily, the Cubs have plenty of options. Steve Cishek was good last year until September, when he showed signs of overwork. Hopefully that doesn't translate into this year, and Maddon doesn't overuse him. Brad Brach at one time was regarded as one of the best non-closing relievers in the game, but he had a shaky first half of 2018, and entered this spring with a case of mono. Maybe should have gone to the doctor first, just saying. I still think he can be elite, but Maddon needs to give him ample rest between appearances early in the year. Brandon Kintzler, aka Justin Wilson 2.0, also had a down year last year, but he's had a good career overall, and I think he deserves a second chance. If he still can't find his mojo though, he'll probably be gone by July. Carl Edwards Jr. has been the closer of the future for the longest time, and he's shown flashes of that potential, but he has a big mentality issue, and if he's going to be our future closer, this is a year for him to prove himself. We can only excuse him walking the first 2 batters he faces out of the bullpen for so long before admitting that he's not going to progress like we thought he would. With how tight our division is, we can't afford that anymore. In spring training, Edwards has shown promise that he has corrected whatever was troubling him, but you can't judge a guy by their spring training numbers. While Morrow is injured, I would like to see Edwards getting a bulk of the setup opportunities, but if he appears to be the same player as years past, Maddon has to diminish his role. Mike Montgomery and Tyler Chatwood, I think, are both better suited as bullpen pieces, as I already said. for the time being at least. Montgomery doesn't have the stamina to make it as a starter, especially if we want to be saving our bullpen. Chatwood needs to be in a role where he can get the quick hook if he starts getting erratic. The 8th bullpen spot would have gone to Brian Dunsing a couple hours ago, but since then he was DFA'd, and the Cubs signed Tim Collins, who was immediately optioned to AAA. This leaves the 8th spot open to Alan Webster, Kyle Ryan, and Randy Rosario. Personally, I'd go with Rosario since he's a lefty, and so far we only have one of those in the pen, and he looked good down the stretch last year. As far as Dunsing goes, I know he was really bad for the last half of 2018, but he was really good for the first half. And though he has not shown signs of improvement in spring training, I feel like people can forget how good he can be. He had an 0.54 ERA as late as May 28th last year. Hopefully he can recapture that if he can clear waivers and stay with us on a minor league team. The Cubs did sign southpaw Xavier Cedeno at the start of spring training, but he's been injured and won't be on the opening day squad. As soon as Cedeno comes back healthy, I would want him on the roster in place of Rosario. Another bullpen piece is Tony Barnett, but like Cedeno, Barnett will have to open the year on the IL. When Barnett comes back, I think the Cubs will have two options for how to get him a roster spot. One, if Brandon Kintzler is not performing, he gets released. Or two, if Kintzler is performing, we could try to ship Chatwood to a team like the Royals, who have the financial and roster space to take on Chatwood as a veteran presence for some no-name minor leaguer. We have a plethora of depth options that will probably start in Iowa, but will likely make an appearance at some point this year. I'm thinking of Alan Webster, Kyle Ryan, James Norwood, and Dylan Maples. Maples is someone to especially keep an eye on, as he has one of the nastiest repertoires in the MLB, but has been challenged by mental issues. This spring, though, Maples has looked improved for the most part and could be in the majors to stay by the end of the year. 3 more prospects to watch are Adbert Alzolay, Justin Steele, and Dakota Meeks. None of them will be on the opening day roster, but all of them could get the call later in the year. Now on to the hitters. Catchers are going to be Wilson Contreras and Victor Caratini. I would like to see Caratini get more opportunities this year. Last year, he sort of became Cole Hamels' personal catcher, and in September, we finally started to see the big bat that he had displayed in the minors in years past. Plus, Contreras needs more rest time this year, as you could see his bat speed slowing down in the second half from fatigue. First base, third base, and shortstop are all locked up with Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez, at least until Russell comes back. Honestly, though, we need to find some way to get rid of Russell. He's not good at the plate, he has a horrendous arm, and his off-field drama is just a distraction for the entire team. He's a waste of a lineup spot. Luckily, we won't have to have him on the roster for the first month, which leaves second base wide open. And speaking of second base, there is some big news that happened about 24 hours ago. Ian Happ, who had told Joe Maddon that he wanted to play second base more this year, has been optioned to AAA. Like I said, this was about a day ago that this happened, so you may not be surprised to hear this, but I feel like it's being overshadowed by everybody and their mom signing contract extensions. I actually sort of saw this coming, and I think it's the right move for the organization long term. Both Happ and Almora will now get regular playing time to develop and reach their full potential, which is better for the team in the long run. Without Happ, the second base options are Ben Zobrist, David Bodie, and Daniel Descalso, but Descalso might spend the first 10 days of the year on the IL. His left shoulder has been bothering him, and though he has resumed baseball activities, it's all been in minor league camp. We're only 4 days out from the first game, and I would want him to play a big league game in spring if he is going to crack the opening day roster. If it's between Bodie and Zobrist for opening day, I'd give the nod to Bodie, since the Cubs will be facing a lefty, Mike Minor, and Bodie's had a far better spring than Zobrist. Not that spring performance means anything, but I would like to see a small reward for really good play in the Cactus League. Then we move to the outfield. Zobrist will get a good amount of time in the outfield, but his age requires him to take a day off once or twice a week. Other outfielders are Albert Almora, Kyle Schwarber, and Jason Hayward. I think Almora gets the OD start in center because of the lefty matchup and because he's also had a good spring, and I also see Hayward in right. In left, I would give the start to Zobrist just because he had a great year last year. That leaves 2 roster spots open while Descalso is injured and while Happ is in AAA. The three guys I could see taking those spots are Mark Zagunis, Christian Automaze, and Johnny Field. All three have performed really well this spring, but I would give the spots to Automaze and Field. I think Automaze's spring was slightly more impressive than the other two, and I would rather have one infielder and one outfielder on the bench rather than two outfielders. If you watched my last Cubs podcast, you might remember me really liking the Johnny Field pickup, and after this spring, I am even more excited that he's on our team. In his limited playing time last year with the Twins and Rays, he showed good power, and I think if he continues to develop, he could turn into a 20 to 25 homer hitter. This spring, he has also been able to hit for a good batting average. He is someone the Cubs should definitely keep around whether or not he is on the big league roster this year, for next year when roster sizes expand to 26 players. So the opening day roster goes like this: Lester, Hamels, Quintana, Hendricks, Darvish, Strop, Cishek, Kinsler, Edwards, Brock, Montgomery, Chatwood, Rosario, Contreras, Caratini, Rizzo, Baez, Bryant, Zobrist, Field, Bodie, Almora, Hayward, Schwarber, and Automaze, with Tony Barnett, Xavier Cedeno, Daniel Descalso, and Brandon Morrow, and Kendall Graveman on the injured list. Here's how I see the opening day lineup going: Almora in center, Bryant at third, Rizzo at first, Baez at short, Zobrist in left, Schwarber DHing, Hayward in right, Contreras catching, and Bodie at second base, with Lester on the mound. I hope you guys enjoyed this Cubs podcast. If you did, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. As I said, I'll be putting out a lot more content like this, so if you like this stuff, you'll want to stick around on this channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.